And I know we'll take a few questions from the media. We'll keep it brief because it is hot out here. But if you're a reporter, especially a local reporter, I'd love to take your question.
Excellent. Go ahead. Senator. Hi. Donald Sells with the Atlanta Voice. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about former President Trump having a third debate, a second with VP Harris, and maybe having it run like the one you just did, which seemed to focus mainly on policy and not on insults?
Well, I think, first of all, I think Kamala Harris already had an opportunity to do a second debate, and she turned it down. I really think it's important that the media gets this story right, because there was an opportunity for Kamala Harris to do a second debate, but she said she didn't want to debate on Fox News, and so that's her decision to deprive the American people of a second presidential debate. But I think you're right, actually, that our debate focused more on policy than the first presidential debate, because the moderators were a complete disgrace, and Kamala Harris doesn't know how to talk about policy, so I'm not surprised the first debate was so empty of substance. But what's interesting to me is you ask Donald Trump what he wants to do, and he will give you an answer. What does Donald Trump want to do about foreign policy? What does he want to do about Russia, Ukraine? What does he want to do about Israel, Iran? But most importantly, what does he want to do to lower prices for the American people? And he will give you an answer. The reason Donald Trump will give you an answer and Kamala Harris will give you a slogan is because Donald Trump shows leadership and Kamala Harris shows the exact opposite of it. So that is the truth to the American people. Do a couple more questions. Quick.
Senator, a judge in Georgia this week struck down the state's abortion restrictions, and the Attorney General has appealed to try to get that law reinstated. Do you think that law should be reinstated?
Look, what the Georgia appeals court or a Georgia trial court or frankly even the people of Georgia believe about this issue is ultimately up to the people of Georgia. They got to make this decision. What President Trump and I have said repeatedly is that we want our national government to focus on the national issues, close down the border, lower the price of housing, make groceries more affordable for American citizens. We got credit card delinquencies that have skyrocketed in the last couple of weeks. We got to get an economy back that works for normal American hardworking people again, and it's a disgrace what Kamala Harris has done. But look, on the abortion question, what Donald Trump has said, he couldn't be more clear, is he wants the people of Georgia to make this decision. In the same way he wants the people of California to make the decision for the people of California. And we're a big enough country that we can agree or disagree with one another on these issues, but the national government is going to be focused on national issues, and the people of Georgia can make up their own minds, and we support the people of Georgia. Next question.
Thank you for doing this, Senator. My question for you is, what do you have to say about President Trump pushing the claim that FEMA is running out of money for her hurricane relief because of funding for programs that support migrants?
Well, let me say a couple things about this. First of all, the idea that FEMA is running out of money is something that the leadership of the Harris administration has said. That especially if there's another disaster, they've said that they might have to go back to the well. And I think a lot of Americans are saying, well, how can we afford to give billions of dollars to illegal immigrants in this country, but we've got to go back to the well to provide disaster relief for our own citizens? That's a disgrace. Now, the media's obsessed with, well, there's one bucket of money over here and there's another bucket of money over here. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that our own government is sending billions of dollars to illegal aliens when there are hardworking Americans. We got to focus on them. Focus on our American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by these terrible storms. That's what Kamala Harris ought to be doing, and it's a damn shame that she's not doing her job.
Hi, Senator. Thank you for doing this. President Trump often describes the 2020 election as rigged, and he often uses the term to describe what he sees as fraud in that election. Trump said that again yesterday at a rally in Michigan. Senator, would you use that specific term, rigged? You have said in the past you have concerns about election integrity in the past and going forward, and do you concur with the president that the 2020 election was rigged?
Well, look, So I'm from Ohio. I'm not from the South, but I think in the South there's a phrase that really works. Bless your heart. Look, man, first of all, we're focused on the future in this election and in this campaign. If you look at what President Trump says, what I say, we are focused on the future. Every single day, hardworking Americans are suffering because of Kamala Harris's policies. It is a disaster, and I think it's interesting that the American media wants to talk so much about 2020. And the reason they want to talk about 2020 is because they don't want to talk a lick about what happened afterwards. And what happened afterwards is that Kamala Harris opened the border, jacked up the price of food, jacked up the price of housing, and American citizens are suffering from it. It is a disgrace. From the Harris campaign and for the American media, we ought to talk about her failed record, and that's what Donald Trump and I are going to keep on doing. Now, you asked the question, and I believe that it's important to answer the question. Let me just tell you one thing that even the liberal media has said happened in 2020. There was a bombshell story that suggested the Biden family had some very corrupt business dealings with some foreign countries. It was all in the infamous Hunter Biden laptop. That happened in 2020. Now, the media, the big tech companies censored that story. And independent people have said that probably cost Donald Trump hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of votes. Now, I don't care what you call that, but it's a damn shame and we can't accept it in our country. You want to call that rigged? Call it whatever you want to. It's unacceptable to happen in the world's greatest constitutional republic. I see another hand. I'll do one more, and then we'll have to hit the road.
Thanks, Senator. It's Kip Maher again. I wanted to ask you, in Melania Trump's book, she voices support for abortion rights. Does that impact the way that you see this issue? And what state, among all the states, do you think has the best abortion policy in your view? And then quickly, if you could have a comment on Trump and Kemp meeting for the first time since 2020 today.
Yeah, so there was a lot there. Let me first briefly. I think Brian Kemp. I understand that he and the president have had some disagreements in the past, but they're on the same team to defeat Kamala Harris, and that's a very good thing. And all of us, whatever part of the Republican Party we came from, the primary is over. Let's get on the same team and bring common sense governance back to the American people. I'm glad to have Brian Kemp on that team. I'm thrilled to have, of course, Donald Trump on that team. I'm thrilled to have Bobby Kennedy on that team because the American people are sick of the BS. And by the way, I've been asked by some folks about, to comment on Liz Cheney. I think we just traded Liz Cheney for Tulsi Gabbard. That's the biggest upgrade in American politics, and I'm awfully happy about it. Now, you asked about the First Lady's abortion views. Look, I love Melania. I think she's a great wife to the president. She's been, I think, a great example of grace under an incredible amount of pressure. But Melania is entitled to her own views in the same way the people of Georgia are entitled to their own views. And I don't believe I have to attack or disagree or criticize anybody on this issue because our campaign is focused, again, on inflation, on securing the border, on making life more affordable, and on bringing good jobs to the state of Georgia and the whole country. So, look, I think she's a smart person. I think she's going to express her views. She's entitled to do it. But it doesn't change how I talk about this issue or how the campaign talks about the issue. And then the final point I want to make here, just because I know that we're running short on time, and I want to look at my notes here because I want to make sure I get this website right. Write this all down if you can. SwampTheVoteUSA.com. SwampTheVoteUSA.com. Okay? I want y'all to go to this website because here's the thing. We're never going to have the dishonest press. We're never going to have, of course, the Democrats telling the truth. But what we do have is people power in the United States of America. We have got the ability to get out there and person to person make our voices heard, but it's not going to happen unless we get out there and vote. Georgia has made some serious progress. Y'all passed a very common sense voter ID measure a few years ago. You remember that? By the way, speaking of Brian Kemp, thank you for signing that legislation. But I think we have an opportunity in the state of Georgia to not just win, but to win in a very big way. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and please take this to heart, is get out there, not just get yourself to the polls, whether you're voting early, voting by mail, or voting on Election Day, try to get 9 people. If every single person gets 9 people to join them at the polls, I think that we are going to have a crushing victory in the state of Georgia, and we're going to make this country great again. So please, please remember, we're not just running this race because it's going to be fun to beat the Democrats, but it is going to be fun to beat the Democrats. My friends, trust me, I'm going to enjoy that. We're running this race because the American people have been failed by their government, and that has got to change. I want you all to see yourselves as fighters, as warriors, to give the great American people the government they deserve. They're not going to get it unless we get out there and vote and make Donald Trump the next president of the United States. Do your part. I'll keep doing mine. God bless you all. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.